welcome everyone to our last class of the Advanced Wheelchair Skills class. First of all, thank everybody for sticking with us the past 4 weeks here, and hopefully those of you that are students have learned something. Those of you that are new users have learned something, and even hopefully some of us have learned something new as well. So just like we have always started our classes here, I want to start with introductions for everybody. So I'll get started. My name is Brian Mazoyer. I'm a physical therapist assistant as well as an assistive technology professional. My current role is the rep for Permobile here in Arizona, and that's a role I've had for the past 5.5 years or so. So I see to my left is Karen, so I'll pass it off to Karen.
Alrighty, thank you everyone for coming. I'm Karen Halgren with the Arizona Spinal Cord Injury Association. I'm the Community Resource Specialist and Peer Mentor Coordinator. I am a T12 incomplete, and I'm not doing therapy, other than I'm doing classes. That's pretty therapeutic.
These classes are therapeutic, yes.
They are very, and I will be quiet this time because my tooth is hurt, my mouth's hurting.
Okay, don't chew on your pen though.
No, nope. No, I have.
Okay, Christine?
I'm Christine Beacham. I'm an occupational therapist at Banner Physical Therapy. I do outpatient OT, and I do the seating clinic here as a seating and mobility specialist, and I'm here to help out.
Oh, that's the one.
Great. Gary?
Gary Vinjon, T12 paraplegic since 1978.
Yep.
I'm retired, and tonight I'm tired and retired.
Not much, does it?
And
Oh, yeah.
I'm not in any therapy right now.
Oh, you know what? Yeah.
Okay. Is Gary, is your TV on?
No, it's Guillermo. I hear him.
Oh,
Gary,
you know what? Let me.
I gotcha. Okay.
Why would you accuse me of that, Brian?
Well,
You're
because
always
you've been
the
guilty of it before.
You've been guilty of a lot of things, but I don't get on you every time. Jeez.
Okay. All right. All righty. Dominic.
Yes, sir. Dominic Corridon, T56 para complete. Was almost 26 years ago. Car accident back in Michigan. Ever since day one, been into sports and activities of all sorts. Total gearhead, as you can see by the car parts and stuff behind. Yeah, here as one of the instructors, I guess.
Excellent. Eric?
Take yourself off mute, Eric.
You're muted, Eric. There you go.
Yep.
No, we did it at the same time. Sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, my name's Eric Kenning. My injury was from birth. I've had it for 51 years, and I'm a partial para. I've gone through a lot of surgeries, and let's see, my injuries were on T11, T12, and yeah, and I work as a project coordinator here at the Arizona Spinal Cord Injury Association.
All right. And let's see. Let's go to Savannah.
Hi, I'm a second year DPT student, and this is my first class that I've attended.
All right. Well, welcome to our class.
Thank you.
Let's see. Next to you is Daniel. Is it Daniel or Danielle? I'm not sure because I don't see a face yet. Oh, it's Daniel.
Daniel, there we go.
Yeah, I'm also a second year GPT student. I'm a classmate of Savannah's, and this is also my first class.
Well, welcome. And Omar?
Hello, I am also a second year physical therapy student at AT still, and this is my first class.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you all.
Let's see. I see Cassie is back.
Yes, I am back. So some of my classmates decided to join this week. This is my second class I've taken with you guys. And happy to be back.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
And then let's see, Savannah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I got Savannah. I'm sorry. They're bouncing around the screen here, so I try to go in order, and then they get out of order here. Sorry. Let's see. I think that just leaves. Okay, Sebastian. I haven't seen before, so we'll go to Sebastian.
Hey, I'm Sebastian. Second year PT student. I go to school with everybody else too. It's my first class.
All right. Well, welcome to our last class here. Now, who did I miss?
I think
I got everybody. Okay. So on our last class here, well, first of all, does anybody who was on the call last week have any questions about what we had covered last time? And I guess really that's only Cassie. So, okay. So Cassie has no questions. So we're going to move on then to tonight's subject, which is wheelchair maintenance, wheelchair setup, and we call it mechanics of the wheelchair, of your wheelchair. So we're going to talk about maintenance on chairs, and then making changes to the setup of the chair, how to do those kind of things, and why you do those kind of things. And then hopefully some of these guys have got some toys that they brought along with them for show and tell. And hopefully Corbin will get on the call here, because I know that he's got hopefully some cool stuff in his shop to show us as well. So we're going to start with cleaning and adjustment. And what I'm going to try to do here, I'm going to run through this kind of quickly. I have a little PowerPoint here that has just some general stuff on. I'm going to go through that, and then I'm going to go to Corbin to Dominic, because he's going to show us how to clean some casters, because those will probably be pretty nasty. So let me see if I can share my screen here. Oh, there that is. Okay. All right. Can everybody see? Come on. There we go. Can everybody see the wheelchair with the handle there? Okay, Dominic is nodding his head, so I'm assuming that everybody else can see it then, since Dominic can see it.
Yes, we can.
All right. So there's kind of a couple of things to cleaning and to maintenance. I mean, one of those is to make sure that everything's working fine. And the other thing is also just like your car, is just kind of keeping it clean, so that things you're not having contamination on your chair, or you're minimizing the contamination on your chair. So that's one of the things to do is to try to keep the surfaces that you touch the most. So on a manual chair, that would be the push rims, the wheel locks, the front parts of the frame. Those are things that you're going to be touching frequently. So those are areas that you probably want to clean and or disinfect once in a while. In fact, more than you probably would normally do in this day and age with COVID around us here. So trying to use things that really kind of keep the chairs clean, and try to disinfect some surfaces, especially those that you frequently touch. There's a lot of people out there, and I don't think any of you guys use gloves when you're rolling in your chair, correct? You don't use a wheelchair glove or anything like that. It's one of those things that I kind of over the years have gone back and forth with, but the way things are with COVID and stuff, it might not be a bad thing to think about using wheelchair or bicycle gloves with your chair, just to kind of help to minimize the contact of contaminants to your hands. So I forget what I've got set up on here. Yes. So one of the biggest areas that really collects a lot of stuff is Velcro. I mean, the great thing about Velcro is that it sticks to everything. The bad thing about Velcro is that everything sticks to it. So on like a wheelchair like this has got all kinds of fibers on it and all kinds of stuff that is in there. And I found that a real quick and easy thing to use is a cat brush, and you just run it through the Velcro there, just kind of rake it through there, and you'd be amazed how much all that stuff will clean out. I don't have a picture. I don't have an after picture of what this chair looks like, but it actually cleaned up pretty nicely when I was working and did this chair. And the same thing, the surfaces that are moving on your chair, which are on a manual chair, it's the front casters and the rear wheels, trying to keep, keeping them clean as well as keeping them somewhat lubricated. And most people, when they think of a lubricant, they think of WD-40, which would be wrong because WD-40, the standard WD-40 is not a lubricant. The WD stands for water displacement. So it is, I guess my computer went dead there. It is something that is not a lubricant. So you want something, if you're going to use a WD-40, you want something that says silicone based, that's something that is silicone based, and you're just putting a light coating of stuff. So you want to clean off all this gunk on there. You can see the hair that's on the end of this, and hopefully when Dominic does his chair here in a moment, you'll see how much stuff is in there, and he'll talk about why hair is bad for things like bearings on casters. Disinfecting, using some kind of a household disinfectant, a bleach, or even just some kind of a spray that's actually designed for killing germs and stuff that can be on your chair. So a lot of times you're going to spray it down with a disinfectant, and you may have to rinse it off, and then you're going to use a dry, some kind of a dry cloth to wipe it off, or letting it air dry. So it just depends on what the stuff is, and then how you apply it. It just is going to vary from what surface you're putting on. So if it's like, say, the cushion cover or the upholstery in your chair, you may just set the sprayer to spray and just mist it all around, just let it dry, versus you may be cleaning your push rims on the chair, and it's easier just to spray a rag and then just wipe it all the way around the push rim, and then let that sit on the chair and dry off or rinse off. Just like an automobile, whether a person's in a power chair or a manual chair, there's always some kind of maintenance that has to go along with it. And that's just the idea of maintenance, is just to make sure that you're keeping your chair in good rolling working order, because the better that it works for you, the better it's going to be able to work for you. The better it's going to be able to do the things that you want it to do, and go the places that you want to go, and not have you get stuck somewhere. So probably the biggest thing that I think that people need to think about and look at is their tires. Because if you're just like on your car, if you're rolling around on flat tires, well, one, you're going to ruin the tire. Two, you're going to find that you're working that much harder in the push, because you have a whole lot more rolling resistance. It'd be the same thing would be happening in your automobile, is that your gas mileage is going to go way down because you're driving on flat tires. It's exactly the same thing, is that you're going to be working a whole lot harder to roll your chair. So checking things like air pressure frequently. And I don't, do you have, Dominic, do you use air tires?
I do.
So how
Yeah,
often do you check the pressure on your tires?
I probably every couple weeks I test the pressure.
Yeah, and that's about right. Yeah, I would say every couple of weeks that's a good place to start. Certainly things like a flat tire, well, you'll notice that right away.
Yeah.
Because I think, and one of the places where people also tend to find out that they have lower air pressure in their tire is when they go to engage their wheel locks, because they'll notice that the wheel locks, these are a lot easier to engage today than they did yesterday, and my chair moves. So a lot of times I've had people come to me and say, well, I need to adjust my wheel locks on the chair because they're not engaging. And I usually tell them, well, the first thing we need to check is the air pressure, because I bet if these were working fine recently and now they're not, that tells me that you probably have low air pressure and need to put some air in the tires. And whether you have a small portable compressor or just a hand pump to do that, you know, that's just going to be personal preference as to, and here's, and you know, we talked about travel last week. And I think that's something that definitely to keep in your you know, stuff that I need to save my trip. Well, I would certainly think about having a tire pump, certainly at least 1 or 2 spare tubes, and maybe some tools to change. You've got the tire spoons here for changing, popping the wheel off and being able to change the tire or change the tube. Sorry. So those would probably for travel. This would be the minimal stuff that I would have: a tire pump, tube, and some way of getting the tire off so I can change the tube. That way, if something happens, I don't get stuck somewhere. And then the same thing on the axles is trying to keep them clean as well. You can see all the hair and gunk that's built up around. Does my cursor pop up here?
Yeah.
So you can see all the hair and gunk around here, and eventually with heat, pressure, and mobility, all this stuff can get behind the seal here on the bearing, and actually it's like pouring sand into your bearings. So hair and bearings is not a good combination because it will just destroy bearings very, very quickly, and makes it so that your chair doesn't roll very well. And then so I'm going to leave where I am here. So I'm going to unshare my picture. Let's see. Let's go to end show there. Let's see. How do I get out of sharing my screen here?
Should be right next to where you share screen. It says unshare, I think.
Yeah, that didn't pop. Let's see.
There's usually a thing up at the top. If you move your cursor up to the top, it should say stop
Oh,
share.
you are sharing screen. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to stop share. There we go. Hey, I got it. I got out of it. Okay. So Dominic, you've got your chair set up to show how to the simple way to clean out your casters, right?
Yeah. So, well, actually, I wanted to start from the top, and I was even noticing things on my chair. This is my everyday chair. I'm sitting in a different chair right now, and you know, like I said, about every 2 weeks, I'll look at the tire pressure. One of the good indicators for me, I have what's called D's locks. I have a hub lock. So this is where my brakes are, is this silver ring around the hub. So mine don't actually engage on the tire. So I wouldn't know if my tires were low, like we were talking about, with the brakes not engaging correctly. So for me, usually a good indication is I'll give the tires a little squeeze, and you can really tell, because these are high pressure pneumatics, high pressure air-filled tires. So they'll let you know, like if they're low, you can feel they're squishy, and then you just, you know, put some air in them. The other thing with your rear wheels that you want to keep an eye on too is the spokes. These are Spinergy wheels, so they're actually a plastic spoke of sorts. They have a shielding around each spoke. That's what the colored part is. And so for me, like what I'll do is I'll look and see if that shielding's been cut, or there's any sort of, like, you can see like a stress mark or something like that in it. Obviously, if your wheel is wobbling or what they call out of true, then that's an indication that you have spokes loose or something like that. If you have the metal spokes, usually you can just take like 2 of them and give them a squeeze, and they shouldn't move very much at all. If they do, then they need to be tightened. And you can take them to a wheelchair repair place, like a durable medical supplier. I've even taken my stuff to a regular bike shop and had a bike mechanic go through and straighten out wheels for me. You want to check your push rings. They have mounting tabs on. There's usually 5 mounting tabs. I don't know if you can see from there, just a little nut that sticks out. and those you want to make sure those are still nice and tight, and none of them are gone. I've had them come loose every once in a while. So that's like your main for the rear wheels. And also too, on the tread, you want to keep an eye on if it starts getting too low. Mine don't have very much tread on them to begin with, and so, but there's an inner core inside of a lot of tires that's a different color. So you'll see that it's either white or blue or something like that. And if you see that inner core, it's definitely time to change your tire. And I also, earlier I was looking, I have a carbon fiber backrest. It's an ADI backrest. And I was actually tightening mine up because some bolts had gotten loose, and it was making this weird creaking noise. And I actually looked up here, and I can see stress cracks in the actual carbon fiber, which means this now needs to be replaced. It could break on me, so I'll need to get a new one. Again, you know, like Brian was talking about adjusting your brakes and making sure they're good and tight, you know, they're functioning correctly and stop the chair from moving. And then the other thing is you want to go to your caster. They pivot like this, you know, for turning. And you want to make sure that they're not too loose or too tight. There's two bearings inside this housing, and if they get wet, they get rusty, they can freeze up. So you want to be careful and make sure that this turns nice and smooth. You want to make sure that it doesn't spin too freely. That's a good, what do I want to say? That creates a lot of that caster flutter when you see the front wheels, they start to shake. So you want to make sure that they turn, but not like super free. And then also your wheels, you know, you want to make sure they spin really, really smooth. You know, if the bearings are starting to get bad or anything like that, you want to make sure that you change out the wheels. The wheelchair wheels actually have a skateboard or rollerblade bearing inside. So you can actually go to most sporting goods stores and get new bearings and replace those completely, you know, inexpensively. The easiest thing to do is you want to keep an eye on your casters and make sure that there's not too much like hair buildup, or like dirt, mud, anything that would like compact into the wheel. And if it does start to get that way, usually it's about once a month I'll go through my chair and actually take the wheels off and pull the hair out and do all of that sort of stuff. You know, I'll sit and watching TV, something like that. I'll get on the floor and just start working on my chair. It's for my chair, I have a what's called a box wheelchair. And it's super easy to get the front casters off. You just take 2 Allen wrenches. These are 5/32 inch Allen wrenches. I'll show you how this one comes off, maybe. So there's an axle and a screw, one on either side. So you just want to take these, pop them loose, and just spin them out. So this side's your screw side. That just comes right out. And what I'll do is I'll just take the Allen wrench and I put it inside here and I push out the axle on the other side. So you can see here that axle's already starting to slide out. So you just push it all the way out, and then the wheel will come out. And I have what's called frog shields on here. They're a piece that helps the hair from building up.
Does it keep the frogs away too?
They do.
Sorry, I couldn't
Yes.
resist that.
It's been a little while since I've done this, so I've got actually quite a bit of hair buildup. You can see these are the little fun hairballs that we get. And you just want to make sure that the wheel itself, make sure that all the hair is out of the bearing. Sometimes it can get inside the little seal on the side of it. Make sure all of that's out of there. And again, the wheel is spinning freely. You can see the bearing in the side there. Like I said, that's something that you can replace. It is a little bit difficult to change those. If you have the money and the resources, it's better to just change the wheel itself. Also, too, you want to take a look and see, like I get a little bit of where the rubber starts to get chunks taken out of it on the sides. You want to make sure that these don't get worn down too far as well. So you just clean up everything and make sure that it's all in good shape, and you put it back together same way it comes apart.
Dominic, do you usually take both of them apart at the same time, or you do one at a time?
I will usually do one at a time. It helps because the one wheel will hold the chair at a level that makes it easier to put the other one in. If you take both of them out at the same time, then the front end dips. It's kind of a, I don't know, not really the biggest of deals, but it's one of those things that just makes it a little bit easier.
I would suggest people the first time or the first few times that they're changing them out, do one at a time. So you can always go look back at the one that's still together to see if you forgot how to put it back together properly.
And also one of the things too, when you're putting all of this back together, there is an inner piece of metal, a little sort of bearing spacer inside the caster that floats around. And so what I'll do again is I'll take the Allen wrench and I move it around inside so that it locates that inner piece of metal, so I can slide the axle all the way across. And then you just want to make sure it seats all the way out into the other side of the fork. And then just tighten everything back up. And this is one that you don't want to tighten too much. You want to make sure that the wheel still moves really, really freely. Again, this will make a big difference in your chair performance. If you tighten it down too hard and that wheel doesn't roll really well, again, it's like having low air pressure in your back wheels. It'll make the chair slower. It'll be harder to push. Again, that gas mileage will go down. So that's basically it for the casters. That's my usual maintenance for, like I said, about once a month I'll go through and do that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dominic. What about so what do you look at as far as your upholstery goes? How often you look doing that, and what are you looking for when you're going through your upholstery?
Probably, I don't know, probably daily. I kind of keep an eye on the upholstery to see if there's any tears or anything like that. I use a Supracore cushion, which is actually machine washable. There's no actual air chambers, like sealed air chambers, like a Roho cushion. So I don't ever have to worry about air pressure or flats or anything like that. And the nice thing is, again, is that it's machine washable. So I get it in you get a little mesh laundry bag, and I can throw it in the washing machine, wash it, throw it on in the dryer with no heat with the rest of my clothes, and throw it back on. And I do that probably once every couple months, depending, just on how dirty it might be.
How many sodas or how many other liquids you poured on it?
Yeah, exactly. Or how many welding burns it has in it. I might need to change the color, okay, the cover. And then also the upholstery on my backrest, because it's a hard shell backrest, even though there's like a rubber strip around the carbon fiber, the fabric will eventually start to wear on those edges. So you want to be aware of that, and make sure that those edges don't become exposed, because that can actually scrape into your back, and either cause just minimal discomfort. If not, if you can't feel it, it could create like a pressure sore, or, you know, a shearing, anything like that. So you want to be careful that you don't get that exposed edge. And I mean, you just, you know, my chair is raw aluminum, so there's no like paint scratches or anything like that. But you want to just, you know, wipe it down and you know, clean it up like Eric was showing with the disinfectants, and even just a mild degreaser, or, you know, like a dish soap or something if you want to clean it off. And just make it pretty.
Well, I think that, you know, even though you talk about making it pretty, I think that that's an important thing, is just kind of keeping your ride clean, so that it is serving you as well as it is able to. So definitely going, you know, being clean. I mean, not to the point, you know, you don't need to have a spit shine on it, but, you know, unless you do that kind of crazy. But certainly keeping things clean and keeping it all maintained just helps the chair to perform that much better for you, so that, you know, that at the end of the day, you know, maybe you're not as tired as you could be if the chair was, you know, if you were rolling around flat tires, if you're rolling around on bad bearings on the casters, or even on the wheels. That goes a long way, I think, towards making helping the chair to be that much more efficient for you.
It's also something too that, one, it will make the chair last longer. You'll be able to be in the same chair for a lot longer. I've had that chair for, I've probably had this chair 7 years, and I'm very abusive on chairs, just in my daily use. But I'm on the other side, I'm good at the maintenance on it, and making, you know, keeping aware of it. And the other thing too is that if you do these sort of maintenances, it's what's considered a preventative maintenance. And so if you're taking the hair out of those bearings on a regular basis, it doesn't build up, and those bearings will actually last longer if you maintain them. So you're not repairing. And then also too, if that bearing is maintained and kept up to, you know, a good condition, then it's less likely to full on fail and be not really catastrophic, but it won't completely seize up, and then you're really in trouble. So it helps that as well. If you notice, if you're looking over your chair and you see maybe there might be a crack in the frame or something when you're doing your maintenance, then that's time that you need to talk to someone before that frame actually does fracture, and be a really, really bad situation.
Yeah, to have something that's really super catastrophic happen to you. And I think that, you know, doing the maintenance here just not only helps the chair perform better for you, but that also means that it's less time that it's in the shop. You know, if you're taking it to your dealership, to where you got the chair from, then it's less time that chair is getting stuck in there, because you know, we all know how fast it can be to get repairs done at your local wheelchair dealer. And I was saying that a little bit sarcastically, because it can take a long time sometimes, especially just ordering something like wheelchair, you know, caster bearings for your chair. Well, the first thing that the dealership is going to ask you for is a prescription from your doctor for wheelchair repairs. And then so you either, I mean, if you have a good rapport with your doctor, sometimes you can just call the doctor and say, hey, can you do this prescription for me? Or if it's been a long time since you've been in their office, they're going to want you to come in to see you. So that can add time to it. So now you're rolling around on rusted C's bearings that you got to go see the doctor, and then you got to go see either having the repair technician either coming to your home more than likely they want you to come to them. So you got to get your chair to them so they can look at it and go, oh yeah, you need new bearings. And maybe and who knows what else that they may find on the chair, because they'll, you know, at that point it's a good idea to have them do a once over on the chair to see what else needs to be replaced. And so then they have to order the parts, and they get the parts in, and then they call you back in with the chair. And so, you know, this can be, you know, a month-long process here that you're rolling around on, you know, a seized bearing on either a caster or a drive wheel. So so it can be pretty detrimental to somebody who, you know, either already has some weakness and maybe already has some shoulder problems, and now we're making it even harder for them because they're having to work that much harder in using their chair. So I think that's a big thing where preventive maintenance comes onto. Eric,
Yeah.
Did you have your hand up?
I did. One of the things that I've done, because to be honest, I don't go through doctors to do my wheelchair stuff. I just don't. Unless I'm ordering the full wheelchair, I either go on eBay or I seek it out on Craigslist, or I find the actual company that makes it and I order it myself. The other thing I do is I go to bicycle shops. They deal with, you know, caster level stuff. They can, you know, especially if they got any sort of press there, they can press out the bearings and put in new bearings for the caster itself. And then I just go with the black wheels from the bicycle shops, which are a fraction of the price of what you get through prescription. And
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, except for instead of getting the gray ones, you're getting the black ones. And so the black ones actually last longer. You do have a little more dirt on the floor. But I mean, my wheels last at least a year, and which is saying a lot because I'm a heavy user, and use it up 3 months, absolutely. So I usually get road tires, and so, you know, I just make friends with my bike shop people, and then you know, they make sure to have a tire, you know, in for me, and then, like I said, with casters, they can just press them out, and or I can order new casters independently online. But I'll never go through a doctor to get a prescription for that simple reason that I'm not going to wait, you know, 6 months just to get a part.
But, and just so that you guys, you student guys, that if you encounter people that are in chairs, you're going to have kind of two ends of the spectrum, and Dominic and Eric are at one end of the spectrum in that they do a lot of the stuff on their own. But you're also going to find those people that they go to the dealership for every single thing on their chair, because they don't either they don't, or they won't do the repairs, or they can't do the repairs themselves on their chairs, or the maintenance on their chairs.
Yeah, and
so you're going to find there's a wide spectrum of what people, what end users do, and how they maintain their rides, whether it is like Corbin and Eric doing it themselves, or it's the other end, someone, they go to their doctor, they get a prescription. And I see that all, because I'm in my position, I am in a lot of the dealerships. So I see a lot of repeat people coming in for very simple things like putting air in their tires, or they come in to have their wheel locks adjusted. Like, well, you know, that's a 5-minute thing you should be able to do in your home. And a lot of people that I see that come in to do those things, I'm like, well, you can do that. That's an easy thing to do. So, but
well, as an OT, I think today you did one of my sessions of showing my patient, how do you clean out the casters, right? This is billable. This is wheelchair skills and fitting and education. So these are things that we can build into therapy to empower somebody to be able to maintain their own equipment. And I think there's checklists for both manual and power chairs. If somebody has caregivers at home and they're looking to get more hours or to justify, you know, we got to look at inspecting the tires monthly. We got to look at, you know, being able to maintain all these different parts of the chair. And this is one way to justify more hours of a caregiver, because these are things that maybe they can't do themselves, but they're getting services from some, whatever their access plan, to be able to maintain their health.
And I'm going to show my screen again here, because even in, come on, even in the owner's manual that comes with every single chair out there, most of them have some kind of something in there that, come on, there we go. So this is, let me come back up here. So this is directly from a Tylite owner's manual. Tylite is one of the manual wheelchair manufacturers. So
You
this
didn't get
is
that with
pulled,
your box chair.
what's
I
that?
have not seen an owner's manual in I don't know how long.
Yeah, the owner's manual, what is that? That's the thing that puts you to sleep, right? Or that you toss in the corner somewhere.
It's all electronic now.
I didn't even know
Exactly.
there was an owner's manual, to be honest.
So so most chairs out there actually, guys, come with an owner's manual. Just so you guys know that. Okay, they actually have owner's manuals. So and this one kind of gives you, so as I said, this is straight off of from a Tylite booklet. And it shows you kind of, you know, how often you should be looking at some of these things and what to be looking for. So like on the rear tires, you know, you're looking for proper inflation. You're looking for, you know, are there cracks? Are there wear marks? Are there flat spots in it that you're worried about, you know, having a tire fail on you? And so you should be looking at those kind of things. The same thing with the hand rims and the camber and axle tubes. And then I think there's just some general things about, you know, just making sure that your chair rolls straight. I mean, that, you know, that's an important thing, because if you're constantly pushing with one arm on the side of your chair, well, maybe something's not quite aligned right. So this is stuff that is generally, let's see what, oh, that comes to there. So this is stuff that's generally in already in the owner's manual, so you can actually use it as a guideline, or, you know, suggest to your patients also to use it as a guideline. Dominic, you look like
I was just going to say, you were talking about like Burrs and like inspecting the push rings. It's kind of a quick, dirty little trick that I learned a long time ago. And I want to say it was actually Corbin, who isn't, or he's just piped in, who actually had taught it to me. If you end up scraping a push ring and you get those little burrs on it, they can be kind of a sharp edge. There's a real easy trick of just taking the flat side of your key, that edge of your key, and you can knock that burr off. You just rub it against the push ring, and it will knock that sharp edge off, so it's not cutting your hands. Corbin!
There he is.
Speaking of Corbin, there he is in his NASA jacket. Are you at NASA?
No, I guess I could be. I just got certified.
It looks like a hanger somewhere.
I just got certified, so I could be, I guess.
You're certified. Yeah, well, I've known you're certified for years.
So how did you get out?
No, I'm upset with myself.
You should be.
I know.
Well, it's not the first time, so it's okay.
All right, well, welcome, Corbin. So we've been just talking about wheelchair maintenance, and Dominic showed us some cleaning techniques on casters, and just kind of talking about general maintenance on chairs.
Okay.
So just to kind of catch you up where we are. Let's see. So what, let's see. So we talked about upholstery, we talked about frames, and we talked about a lot of other things. The other thing is that, what's that?
Cushions.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to start to say. The other thing Dominic kind of brought up a little bit is a cushion like a Rojo cushion. So a Rojo cushion uses air for for your skin protection as well as for positioning. So it also has some maintenance, because obviously if you're sitting on an air cushion that gets in it, well, that can be a problem, because then you're sitting on nothing. So that's something that you're checking, you know, even as you're getting into the chair on a daily basis, because you're checking to make sure that as you sit in the cushion, that you're actually sitting on the cushion and you're not sitting on, say, the seat pan of the chair, which could be in some cases is a metal seat pan or just an upholstery seat pan. But either way, you don't want to be sitting on either one of those. So so making sure that you're sitting on the cushion properly. The other thing that Dominic brought up was that he sits on a Stimulite cushion, which he can just throw into the laundry. And a lot of cushions, I shouldn't say a lot, there are several manufacturers of cushions out there that you can do that with. Most cushions that have some kind of a foam base to them are not something you can just throw into the laundry. So those are generally going to be wiped down, and certainly putting the covers into the laundry, yes. What I tell people with any kind of a cushion cover is put it in the washing machine to wash it, but don't put it in the dryer. Let it hang out dry, especially here in Arizona. Generally, you hang it outside, it's dry in 5 minutes. So in the summertime, it's probably dry in about 2 minutes.
Just
but
don't leave it outside because it will cook it.
Yeah, it'll cook. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll cook it eventually. So, you know, just let it air dry out, and then that just helps the cushion material to be able to last that much longer, and be able to keep the cushion in good working order that much longer. I think
Listen, if there's Velcro on the back of that cushion cover that you're washing, see if you can put something on the Velcro or put them together so it doesn't get caught up with lint and everything else in it.
So that you don't have your back of your cushion looking like that the seat pan that I showed in that picture earlier when we started out.
Exactly.
So I see that Dominic now polishing his chair here.
I was looking at it, was a little dirty. I figure, well, might as well.
Might as well get it cleaned up here. Makes you look good here, so it's nice and shiny.
And I think we're talking. Sorry. We're talking about having go through the process of getting wheelchair repairs from your doctor. And if I usually tell my patients, if you see your doctor at least once a year, just get a general prescription for wheelchair repairs, and then you have it on hand. So if anything goes wrong, you don't have to wait for that step to kind of if you wanted to go through your dealer for repairs.
Yeah, because generally a prescription is good for what, like 6 months or more?
It depends on what the doctor writes, if there is a expiration on it.
Yeah, and the important thing is that if you are getting a prescription for wheelchair repairs, just have them write wheelchair repairs. Because if you, and I actually, the only reason I'm bringing this up is I was listening to one of my, an ATP talking to an end user on the phone, and he was telling him, make sure that if you're getting a prescription for wheelchair repairs, that it just says wheelchair repairs. Don't get a prescription for new tires on the chair, because that's all the dealer's going to be able to do to put through your insurance, to have the insurance pay for it, is they're only going to be able to get new tires for it. So always make it as general as possible. That way a multitude of things could be done on the chair, and then they don't have to go back and get multiple paperwork from your doctor's office or anything like that. So I always tell the end user is to, you know, make it general, so it's not anything specific. Even in a power chair, even if the person needs the idea they're going into to get new batteries for the chair, but it maybe has been a year or more since the chair has been in there. So I always tell them just same thing, just have wheelchair repairs, and then that way they can do a multitude of things to that power chair if it's necessary, or the manual chair if it's necessary, and they don't have to recontact the physician or the physician's office to be able to get a prescription for other things that need to be done on the chair. It just makes it easier on the insurance as well, because there are a lot of people that, so for instance, what's that, Gary?
Mr. McCabe, welcome.
Nothing.
Oh, okay. So when someone's coming in and say to get a set of batteries replaced on a power chair, well, that's an expensive thing to do out of pocket. You're talking probably something in the area of $200 a pop, if not more, for a power chair. And typically most power chairs have at least 2 batteries in them. So they always, those kind of things you want to have insurance pay for. Now, it's a big difference to paying for batteries versus on a manual chair, just paying for a new set of tubes or a tire, because, you know, you're talking under $20 probably. Is that about right, Eric or Dominic?
Yeah.
Pretty close to that? Okay, yeah. It's been a while since I've had to buy tubes or tires, but that seems like it'd be about reasonable, at least, especially through a bike shop.
between 20 to 40.
Okay.
And that's usually what I do is I get the shield strip on it. So, and then I actually I have them slime it too.
Okay. So tell people, because I know what a shield strip is, but maybe not everyone does.
Okay, shield strip is like a Gore-Tex thorn-proof strip that goes on the middle of the tube on the top, and it goes all the way around the wheel, and that helps to protect from like thorns and anything that can puncture your tire. And normally it's going to be on the top, and not coming through the side. However, it's surprising, those thorns are pretty sharp. If you get out in the country, you can still get them on the side and get a flat. So what I also do is I get some slime put in there, and basically it's just this this liquid that is goopy, and it helps clog up the holes.
Is that a technical term, goopy?
That's my technical professional term.
Goopy. All right, I like goopy. Okay. Yeah, and certainly, you know, you're trying to do, especially if you're someone who has air tires on your chair, you're trying to do as much as you can to protect the tire as best you're able to, because there's always something out there trying to poke a hole in your tires. So, and that's just one of the things that when you're using an air tire, that you just have to be aware of, that, you know, there's something out there trying to puncture my tire.
Yep.
So versus that, go ahead.
There's a drawback. I'm sorry, on the slime. I'm sorry to interrupt. The one drawback is when you have to air up your tire, which I have to do at least once every couple weeks to once a month, is the slime will get backed up into the
valve.
Into the valve, yeah.
Valve, thank you, into the valve, and then that becomes a problem. So, so that's been an issue too. So I got to be real careful when doing that. Typically, when I air up my tires, I make sure my valve is not at the bottom, but either in the middle or the top of the rotation. So it's either going to be at 12 o'clock, or it's going to be at 3 or 9. But if I have it at the bottom, the chances of getting more slime in my valve is higher. At least that's what it seems like.
And typically you got to take the valve out anyway to put the stuff in, don't you?
No,
I usually do.
When I take it into the bike shop, when they slime it, they pressure it right in. They just put it right in.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Because I usually just take the valve out. That way you don't have to worry about it clogging, and then I just squeeze it in. Like I'll have the tire, like at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and just squeeze what I want into it, and then screw the valve back into it and fill the air up, and then.
See, now that sounds smart. That sounds smart.
Now, make sure that you like people know the difference in the valves too.
Oh, why don't you talk about the difference in the valves then, Dominic, since you bring it up?
So
are you going to talk about Schrader and Prestas?
Yeah. So my valve is what's considered a Presta valve. So it's the real small, skinny one. And when you take the cap off, there's actually, the piston is external, and it has a screw on it as well. And this, when you loosen that little sort of finger nut, that's when you can depress this and let the air out. Also, that's how you pump the air in. But this part of the valve itself is actually removable. So like the guys are talking, to be able to put the slime in and stuff like that. You take that valve out, and then you can just put all the slime in, the tire sealant in. A Schrader valve is the fatter one, and the valve is all internal, and it's usually not removable. So if you
it takes a special tool to remove it.
Yes, that's right. You can.
Yeah.
What'd you call me?
A tool?
You're a special tool.
Yeah, so it does take a special tool to do it, and the Schrader valve is probably the valve that people are more familiar with. Is what you find on all your tire valves on your car. That's a Schrader valve. And the Presta valve, it seemed like that was more. I mean, it's more from a bike perspective. It
Yeah.
is,
That was more the road cycling environment that had the Presta valves over in Europe. That was where that started, I think. And then it's now in the mountain bike industry and a lot more just cycling all over. But yeah.
That's what we use to run in our track chairs when we run 150 to 200 pounds of pressure in the tires. So a lot of times that valve is going to be on tires that's got a lot of high pressure in them, is what I've found over the years.
So I
Exactly.
did get a question here from someone in the group here. He asked, did you find it hard to find time to clean your wheelchair when you first began to use one? And has it just become part of your routine now? So so when you were first injured, Corbin, did you find it was hard to make time to do maintenance, routine maintenance on your chair?
No, I came from a cycling background, so I regularly clean my bicycles and everything like that. So bicycle frames and wheelchair frames are very similar, and keeping them clean and everything like that helps them function better. So I've just done that naturally. It was just a natural progression for me.
And when you're thinking about things like, you know, wheelchair, the maintenance part of it, or just kind of checking over things like upholstery, is that something that is just kind of part of your routine when you're getting into and out of your chair? Are you kind of looking at things when you're popping over and popping out of it?
You know what? Actually, the funny thing is I've gotten, it's kind of humorous, but I've gotten to the point where like I'll do it when I'm going to the bathroom because I'm out of my chair. So my chair is right in front of me, right there. So I'll go over things real quick while I'm.
Because you got nothing else to do, right?
Exactly.
Wow,
So
multitasking.
Yep. So I just go over everything there, and you can do you can do the little tap test on everything. So I've got like a carbon fiber seat pan and carbon fiber side guard fenders, and if you just tap on those with your finger, they're like drums. And you can hear when something's loose. And then I tip it up and rotate the casters and everything like that, feel if there's play, in and out play or whatever. And you can do that. And so I just do a quick little once over there. So, that happens fairly regularly.
I used to do a lot of my cleaning and stuff.
That's because you're a regular guy, right?
I'm a regular guy.
I'm sorry, Gary.
I found a good time to do that cleaning is if you're at home at night watching TV, is just to sit down on the floor in front of the TV and clean and watch TV at the same time.
Yep.
Or like Dominic, when you're on a conference call with a bunch of people, just sit down and clean your wheelchair there so it shines.
I mean, since it's up on the stand, I might as well.
Yeah.
It's energy conservation.
What's that?
It's energy conservation.
There you go.
You just got to remember about maintaining and cleaning your chair. You're eventually going to have to do it sometime, either when it breaks down, or you can do it ahead of time at your when you want to do it versus when you have to do it in an inconvenient time.
Yeah. Because usually when something happens, it's never a convenient time. Things don't break on your wheelchair when you're sitting in your living room.
That's for sure.
Right, guys?
And Corbin, he kind of touched upon it too, is he was of the mentality, of that was part of what he was doing before his injury. So, that was always kind of his mindset, was looking at his bikes, maintaining them, that was his second nature. And then that just carried over into chairs. For me, it was kind of the same thing. For someone who didn't have that background, didn't have a sports background or a maintenance background, vehicles, whatever, it's going to be something that you are going to have to think about. You might have to write yourself a note, a reminder in your phone or something like that. Hey, it's time to, look over the chair or something like that, until it becomes a routine, something that is just second nature. Not everyone is going to think of those things right away. So it might be something that would have to be instilled, so to speak.
Yeah, and those are good points. And I think that really, in the time that we have spent talking about wheelchair maintenance, I mean, this is way more time than I would expect someone to actually spend doing the wheelchair maintenance.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
you know, because I think that, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys that are in chairs, but when you're rolling around, you'll notice when something doesn't feel right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you notice when a bearing is going out because the wheel doesn't roll correctly, or you'll notice that the air pressure isn't quite right in the tire because, you know, if you happen to have wheel locks on your chair, you'll feel that difference in the wheel lock. You'll say, oh, this is not locking properly, so let me take a look and see what's going on here. So it's things like that you would just kind of take care of right away anyway. So a lot of times the actual, you know, sitting down and doing all this stuff is something really that you're kind of doing continuously when you're rolling around in your chair. At least I think that's what I think would be happening if I was in a chair, that I'd be checking to see how things are rolling, how things are moving as I'm getting either into or out of the chair, or as I'm going from point A to point B. So it's not, so a lot of it is done pretty quickly. I mean, cleaning out casters, 5 or 10 minutes, you know, easily, because they pop off, come off of there easily. Same thing with cleaning off axles on the push wheels. You know, those pop off of there easily, and you can have them cleaned in a couple of minutes for each side. So it's not that this stuff takes hours and hours. What happens when it takes hours and hours is when something goes wrong, and that generally the something that goes wrong is because someone has not really been doing what they should have been doing.
Can I add something here?
Yes.
So I was looking at you know, the frog leg casters that Dominic recommended, and they have a thing called Frog Shield, and they replace the spacers, and they're bigger so that they don't build up the hair. Do you guys have any knowledge with that?
And as I said to Dominic earlier, they also keep frogs out of your casters too. I don't have a whole lot of experience with those. So do you notice a difference between the frog shields and not having them on there, Dominic?
Have you ever used those?
Dominic, can you hear us? I can see Dominic, but I don't know that he can hear us. And he turned off his camera. So
my experience with those has been they make a little bit of a difference, but hair and fine filament of carpet and stuff like that will still get in behind those things.
They always find their way into tires.
They will, and then you gotta take that thing off too. So if you just do you know, a quick maintenance thing, have it a little bit of a schedule or whatever, to where basically like you can look down and say, oh, I got a whole bunch of hair around my axle, time to clean that. With those things or without those things, it's just as easy to get out. I haven't noticed that those have made a significant enough of a difference to warrant them.
Yeah, and they're expensive. They're like $20. So
yeah,
just for those little shields. So okay.
And even with the frog legs, so one thing that you have to remember, that you have to keep in mind with frog legs, is putting frog leg forks on your wheelchair will change the dynamic of your chair. The way that those work is, if this is the caster, the caster is it's not just gonna go up and down straight like this. The way that those work is it goes up and down and pivots back a little bit. So if you hit a decent sized crack, the caster is gonna go up and travel back a little bit. So you have to keep that in mind with the setup of your chair, and possibly move your center of gravity back 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. It'll make a big difference. If like, I can't put frog legs on my chair, because my chair, my wheelbase is so short that if I put frog legs on mine and I hit a significant crack in my chair, it would pitch me forward enough, and then when I was leaning forward is when the rebound would happen on those things. And I had a set one time on one chair, and it pitched me out of the front of the chair more times. So because of my chair, the way that my chair is set up, I can't use them. Other people with longer wheelbases and everything like that, they work awesome. They really do. But you just have to keep in mind that anything that you do to your chair, you can never just do one adjustment to your chair. So anything that you do to your chair is going to require an adjustment somewhere else in your chair. Center of gravity is going to change your caster angle. You know, well, depending on if your center or if your seat is flat or not. Changing the dump or the angle of your seat is going to change those things also. So that's why a bunch of adjustable chairs have everything adjustable. My chair, as far as I've gone and dialed everything in, nothing is adjustable on my chair at all, except for the sling back upholstery. I can sling that back a little bit, and I can fine tune my center of gravity by using the sling of my backrest. But that's literally the only thing that's adjustable on my chair.
And thanks, Corbin. And we've been talking, well, primarily about manual chairs, but I did get a question here about power chairs. You know, are there differences in the maintenance of power chair versus a manual chair? And the answer is yes. And there are some significant differences. There's a lot of the same things because you're going to still be checking things like the upholstery, looking for tears and breaks and things, and trying to, you know, make sure that everything is working the way it should be working. But you also have some additional things. So batteries on a power chair. So just like in a car battery and on a power chair, they're going to last, you know, anywhere from 18 months to a couple of years here in Arizona. It just depends on how well it's charged, how frequently the person who's using the chair charges that chair. I tell people if you're using the chair every day, you should be charging it every night. That way it's ready to go for you the next day to do whatever it is that you want to be able to do. So that's one of the big differences. But you also have to deal with, in a power chair, you have to deal with electronics, you have to deal with motors, and you still have things like bearings. So in just like on a manual wheelchair, you have casters on a power chair as well. So you have to deal with the bearings and the casters there, as well as the tire wear. And depending on how much someone uses it, you're going to have someone who may be wearing out tires faster than someone else. So I've seen some power chairs that after the first year, they've got, you know, several hundred miles on the chair and not really use them very much. Or I've seen other people have got 1,000 miles on their chair after a year, and they're replacing tires and casters because they use their chair a lot more. And there are other problems that can occur with a power chair. So you get something like a broken wire or a cut wire somewhere for whatever reason. Well, that can shut down the power chair, and then you're stuck. And so the likelihood of getting stuck in a power chair versus a manual chair probably goes up exponentially, because in a manual chair, you know, even if something like a bearing freezes, you can still, and a flat tire on the chair, you can still roll the chair somewhat. You're not stuck. But in a power chair, if you lose power for whatever reason, well, then you kind of are stuck, and you're going to need some help to be able to move that chair. Most power chairs have the ability to be able to have the motors released so someone could actually push that chair. So Karen, do you want to talk about anything that you do? I know your teeth aren't the greatest right now, but
okay.
Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about some of the things that you do from a power wheelchair perspective?
Gosh. Yeah, like mine, I was stuck almost a month. I'd go like 3 or 4 inches and my chair would stop dead. It turned out it was the batteries. The batteries can go bad in them. they were overheating and they were kind of melted together.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow.
It was a safety hazard because if I had to get out of the house in a hurry, I'd have never made it. God forbid if there had been a fire.
Yeah. Because in a
Not,
power chair, it's not something you jump out of your chair and push it across the room.
no, nope. And we can
Or
get,
you reach down the wheels and try to move the chair. It's not going to happen.
yeah. And I had, the motors can go bad in them. One chair I had, I was crossing a busy intersection and the chair just stopped dead right in the middle of the intersection. Luckily, I was able to get it going again and got out of the street. So, yeah, it's mainly the batteries and the motors on them.
What about like the control units and stuff, like your joystick and the like computer controls in them? How are they pretty solid? Like, do they stay pretty good for a while, or?
Yeah, unless you fly and the airline breaks them.
Yeah.
Been there, done that too. Yeah, my controller's been pretty reliable. Like I say, mine is more the batteries and the motor, and the wheel. I wear the wheels out because I don't stay still very long.
Yeah, and you would be like an active user because you're out and about. I mean, you drive, you get out, you work, and so you're out and about. So you would be considered an active user.
Active, yeah,
and,
pre-COVID.
Well, yes. I mean, everybody wasn't, anybody who was out and about would be, everybody on the call here is an active user pre-COVID. Yes.
Yeah, because my chair is about little over a year and a half old, and I've
how many miles?
21.
21 miles.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's not much.
No. Well, I've been home since March.
Oh, well, that's true. Okay, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and then before
It'd
that,
be interesting to see what the mileage is on your old chair.
I had almost 2,000.
Okay.
In 5 years.
Okay. And even though you're an active user, I have recently had a gentleman that I did a new chair for who had nearly 6,000 miles on his chair in 5-year time. So
gosh.
everyone's definition of an active user just depends on that person. I mean, I would still consider you both active users because you both are out in the community, you go to work, you do, all this pre-COVID stuff, but you do all these things and you're not just sitting around. Well, now you guys are sitting around at home.
Yeah.
I'm at work.
What's that?
I'm at work.
Yeah. Well, I'm at my home office, but I'm still out and about every day. So, so I'm out in the community. I don't stay at home anymore, or I haven't stayed at home actually at all. Hopefully that answered your question about differences kind of in power mobility.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys, and I got a yes, thank you. Okay. So did anybody bring any show and tell? Because I didn't want to just talk about maintenance and stuff the whole time here. Did anyone bring some toys with them for show and tell?
I have hand bikes.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to leave Christine in charge because unfortunately I have to go. I have a commitment this evening. So I will leave it to Christine and Karen's capable hands to keep all you guys in line. And I want to thank you all for attending, and hopefully you've learned something tonight and the other classes that you attended. So thank you all very much, and I'll hopefully talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, bye.
So who has the closest toys?
Dominic.
Right here.
All right. We'll just go back and forth. Cue up something, Corbin.
No, I don't have anything.
Unacceptable.
I got home late. Yeah, I got home late.
You've had a week to get ready to buy stuff. What the heck?
So let me see. I unfortunately had to switch to my phone earlier. So here's a couple of bikes that I have. The one to the left, which still should be on your guys' screen, that one is a top end Force 3. It's considered your intermediate recumbent style bike. And then that blue one is my Reactive Adaptations Hammerhead. That one is a prone style off-road hand cycle, full suspension, disc brakes. It's your all-around, go anywhere type of bike. Let me see if I can get a better view. Sorry for the shaky view.
Where's your stabilizer?
I'm gonna leave that one alone. I had a stabilizer earlier.
I was gonna say he drank it earlier.
That was, yes.
And didn't even share.
Well, unfortunately, we're all in different places. Otherwise, I absolutely would share. All right. Hopefully that's better in the light. So this one, you can see, has the two wheels in the front, handlebars, and then the one wheel in the back that's actually the drive wheel in the rear. It's way better for traction and that in off-road and hill climbing and things like that. And when I said prone style, if you look, there's where it says Kenda, that's a leg trough and then a seat pan, and then the pad that's up high towards the front, that's what actually my chest is on. I actually kneel on this one over
And
the
Dominic, sorry, you have a YouTube video of you transferring in and out.
I
right?
do.
I
Yeah.
watched it.
Uh-oh. You'll have to give me your critiques on that.
You're in. You get in.
Without falling. And then so the recumbent's legs are out front of you, and you're seated in a regular, just reclined position, and you have two wheels in the back, and then your regular drive wheel is up in the front, and your hand cranks are in front of you now on your chest. This is more center of gravity, aerodynamics, and ease of ground on the road. This one can be one that you would want to take off-road. So depending on the environment that you want to be in, there's a few different styles of bike you can play with. Don't really have any other toys here, so
You guys want to just talk about the different kind of sports you've been involved in?
So me personally, I started in wheelchair racing, doing road marathons and different distances like that. And then I've played wheelchair basketball, tennis, wheelchair rugby, and activity-wise, I don't really consider them sports, but like rock climbing, scuba diving, skydiving, any one of the other really activities. I haven't found any that I haven't been able to get into being in a wheelchair. There's an adapted version for pretty much everything. I know Corbin's been in some different sports than I have.
He's just in his NASA space.
Yeah,
Right now.
I've done a handful of sports. There's seated fencing, basketball. I did the road racing too, track and field, shot put, discus, javelin. But fencing, I said that one. Oh, sled hockey, I guess I did that one pretty successfully. So it's ice hockey in like a sled that's about 3 inches off the ice with hockey blades, and you have two sticks, one in each hand, and they have like the tip of figure skates in the bottom of them so that you dig those in the ice and propel yourself. And then, you know, auto racing, just about anything. I've got the off-road hand cycles, regular hand cycles, racing chairs. I've done the rock climbing, tennis, all the stuff.
Downhill skiing.
Downhill skiing. Yep. I teach that, or I used to teach that.
I know one thing you haven't played. Quad rugby.
I play quad rugby.
Cheater.
Did they let you on the court?
So as a paraplegic, I can go and practice and I can do exhibitions, but I can't compete. So I've helped teams. I've gone and played with teams during their practices and stuff like that. They said they actually like paras helping out because being a little bit more able, it challenges the team members more. So they like having able-bods and paras come out and help out with team practices and stuff.
Dominic, you're a para?
Actually,
Dominic, you're a para? I thought when you played basketball for me, you were a quadriplegic.
Pretty close.
So actually, Karen, I actually did, and I actually coached the Phoenix Heat when I first moved to Phoenix with Jack. I actually went and practiced with them and helped him coach the team when there were only like 5 or 6 guys with Mike Gillihan and Lance and Jeff Luge and all those guys. So
I did not know that.
So
all right. I think I queued up one of Dominic's videos so I can show the others if I can figure how to do this. That's like half the battle. I'm going to do this and this.
Better you than me because I wouldn't figure it out on my phone.
I'm just doing it. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
All right.
Can't hear it, but we can see it.
Oh, just kidding. Dominic cannot narrate.
So basically that I'm showing that there's a parking brake for the front brakes, and that just keeps the bike from rolling around and when you're trying to transfer into it. And then this is the prone style like I was talking earlier. So the technique's a little bit different here. I like to put my one leg over first. That way, because I'm not flexible enough to lift my leg up and over once I'm in, over that chest pad. So I put my leg over and then I'll grab the middle of the frame there. You can grab in different spots depending on, just your ability and movement and stuff. And then it's just a quick transfer over, hop in. And then what you'll need to do is I have to take my legs and pick them up and put them into the troughs themselves. Because you weight bear on your knees a little bit. And then once I get both legs in, then it's just a matter, there's a couple straps. There's one strap over each ankle to help keep my legs in when you're bouncing around and stuff on the trail. And then also there's one lap belt that goes around my legs and across my lap. Again, just being nice and secure. There are times when I actually, if I'm in a difficult situation, like I'm stuck on a rock or something like that, I can actually like bunny hop the bike, and it helps to be completely strapped in really nice and tight.
Do you ever get any kind of pressure sores from doing that?
No, actually, I've gone through the company puts in a really good foam, but I've actually gone through and replaced all the padding in my leg troughs and in my seat pad with the Supracore honeycomb materials. So I have zero pressure issues, and with the honeycomb material, because there's like air circulating through it all the time, when I sweat or like if I go through a water crossing or something, the water just drains right through it. It breathes and dries out really, really quick.
Oh, okay. I often wondered that. You guys that ride your bikes.
Got it.
I did end up with a really bad pressure sore on my road bike when I was over in China riding for my program over there. I was riding in the rain and just not really being very mindful of my pressure management. And I ended up with a bad pressure sore on my hip.
Do your legs ever fall asleep?
They're always asleep. Fuckers won't ever wake up.
I know, yeah. Been there doing that. Sorry, I just had to throw it out there.
And Corbin, you have like on your sled hockey, you had kind of a bucket or a ride seat in that?
Yeah, it's pre-ride, but it's very similar to that. Yeah, I don't even know where that is right now, but it's
Okay. But
yeah.
you have more of a custom cushion that kind of wells out where the pelvis is and where the bones are. So a lot of these top athletes will have just custom, really fit kind of equipment so that, you know, you're protected as you're doing those kind of things.
Right.
That's one of the things we kind of touched upon with like wheelchair setup in one of the previous classes, is that, you know, when you have a custom built chair, again, and I think Corbin even had said it, where, you know, this is an extension of your body, and in that right, when you are misfitted into a chair, if you're ill-fitted in a chair, it's going to be really sloppy. It's going to be very cumbersome. Corbin and I are in very small chairs, and like my side guards are welded in my chair. And so I actually use my side guards and the fact that I'm rather tight in my seat to move my chair around. I can actually rotate my shoulders and like throw my shoulders to the side, and it moves my hips, and that will either keep my chair straight, pushing down a sidewalk, or if I need to turn, you know, just a little bit and say my hands are occupied with something, I can move my chair without actually moving the actual wheels, the push ring. And that's the same thing. That's so important with sports wheelchairs, because again, you're looking for the highest performance you can. Wheelchair sports now are extremely competitive, and so you have to be not only in the best shape that you can be in, and the skill level that you personally can be in, but also having the best equipment that you can to be at those levels of competition. Obviously, when you start, you don't know in particular what you would need, but over time you learn in your chair what fits you better, helps you perform better. Oh, it looks like Corbin's got one of his sled.
And we lost him. No.
Yeah, so I just remembered, I saw it yesterday when we were cleaning the side yard. It was leaning up against the house. So this is that bucket seat that she was talking about. So this is actually like it was formed right around me. So this is a hockey sled, and let me show you the blades.
Is that seat, Corbin, is that plastic or is that fiberglass?
Plastic. This is a copolymer, so it's moldable. But then there's these are actual hockey blades underneath there. They're about an inch apart. And then the seat, because the seat is totally molded to me, I made this cushion that fits in there. So this is just different layers of different temper foam. So this green stuff is a more firm. The black stuff is very firm and it's not a temper foam at all. And then the pink is very, very soft. So the pink is underneath the green where my ischials would be. So my ischials would be pushing through the green, but into softer material underneath here. And then when I get into it, it kind of cradles my pelvis. And that thing, this cushion fits into here perfectly. So it's made to interface with between this bucket seat and me. So when I get strapped into this thing, I use cam straps. So when I'm in this thing, literally this frame is part of my body. Nothing from my hips to my feet go in the front here. It's a little beat up. So
it's love.
From my hips to my feet that are in here, all of that is one piece. Nothing moves without, like I can just do my hips like you see me doing in my chair. So in my chair, even my chair is tight enough with this cushion that all I have to do is move my hips, and I can rotate my chair around and do that. So, and I'm not seat belted in my chair at all. That's just how well my chair fits me, and the ride cushion that I have in my chair, it interfaces with my body so well that I can do stuff. So a lot of times at work, I'll be carrying something and it'll be something bigger that I'm carrying in both hands, and I'll be cruising down. I can swap it, put it on my lap or whatever. And if I have to go around something, I can, like these sawhorses, I can do this and just go like this, go around something. So I can so I'm able to go around some obstacles like that with a good fitting chair, and then especially with the sports equipment. So I have that same, I designed and made my own basketball chair, and I have that same system on that. So it fooled a lot of people to think that I was a lot better than I was, because I could move the chair better than most people because I was more a part of my chair. Because my chair was more like a shoe than anything, because I was actually into the chair and it kind of laced up around the lower part of my body. So the chair and my sled are really they're truly an extension of me. I am truly attached to those pieces of equipment, and with that I was able to perform for a longer period of time than a lot of people were, just because of the way that my equipment was designed to interface with me better than most of the stuff that's out there. And like the downhill
I know you've
ski-
helped. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I know you've
The
helped
downhill
fabricate
skis are like
stuff
the
as
same
well.
thing. Say that again.
I know you've helped fabricate stuff as well for like track and field and
Right.
just different special chairs and equipment for people.
Yeah, I've designed a lot of stuff. Actually, I think in every single sport that I've ever played, I played in a piece of equipment that I designed and made. And I've traveled all over the world and been to the Paralympics and stuff like that. And everything that I've competed in has been a piece of equipment that I've designed and made, or has been a piece of equipment that I've modified to make it work for me better. I've got a few hand cycles and stuff like that are manufactured and everything. And some of the guys that are out there now, you don't have to do anything because the game has been stepped up so much that there's just stuff now that is comparable.
Got it. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions about adaptive sports, wheelchair setup, wheelchair maintenance? That's kind of what we're topics for today.
Questions? Any questions?
Well, if there are no questions, I guess we can call it a night, huh?
You don't need Brian.
Yeah.
We
Brian,
go
it's already-
faster when he's not here.
When he's here, it's 6:45 when we're done.
I know.
You're hired, Christine.
I just let you guys do it because, you know, you guys have all the experience and I'm just helping out.
There's only one thing that I know I've looked at this. I haven't tried it because it's extremely expensive, and I'll be short with this. But the freewheel, I heard that's really good for off-roading. If you don't want to do a complete change out on your casters.
Honestly, it's an expensive
$500.
But I've been fortunate enough that I have my own wheelchair that's dedicated for off-road because I do it so much and I've done it for so long. But someone who does it here and there or doesn't have the ability to have a second wheelchair, the freewheel is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful adaptation to be able to get out in grass and dirt and beach and all sorts of soft terrain.
I would love it when I go camping. I've been seriously thinking about one of those if I can ever find it used.
They are worth it, honestly. It is a bit of a chunk to bite off. Like you said, they're about $500, but they're worth it.
Okay.
Got it. So for the students, it's an adaptive wheel that you can attach to your foot plate. That's a lot bigger than your front casters, and it'll lift your front casters off the ground so you can kind of maneuver over more uneven terrain. So it kind of gives people a little bit more freedom when they're trying to be outdoors.
And I bet you can get higher speeds too when you're on the road.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people pair it with the Smart Drive. So you kind of get the motor in the back and off-roading in the front.
Yeah.
And they're taking off.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So we just got a couple questions. I don't know how to go back. But Daniel was asking something about adapting house and stuff like that, like how quickly you did that. It's all on. It's basically personal preference, but the quicker that you can adapt things to be a little bit better for you, you know, the quicker you can get into you know, a routine or do stuff without it being too challenging. It's not to say that you have to all of a sudden the world has to be flat for you, but you know, some things do help. Like at work, when I started the job that I have now, all the workbenches were at this level, and I worked like that for, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months, and then you know, when there was a mutual agreement that, hey, I was going to be sticking around and everything like that, I took 3 of the benches and cut them down. So now they're down here, and you know, I just hit 5 years working there, and everything. So it's one of those things where that just made life a little bit easier. So it's all on, it's basically all on you, on you know, what you want to do to make functioning in life, I guess, more enjoyable, or I don't know. I really struggle I don't like using the word normal, or the new normal or anything like that, because this is your life. Normal is what you make it. You know, if I chose to work on those high benches, that would be normal. But I chose to cut them down to make my daily life a little bit easier. So that's the normal for me. Doing this in the shop and stuff like that, that's you know, is making my life a lot easier. So it's all on what you want to do. So I don't know how do I go back and read his texts?
I can actually.
How long did it take to make adaptations to your home and other aspects of your daily living? What aspects of your daily living do you find difficult to perform today?
So I guess I'll answer that again. That's all, again, that's all personal definition. It's what you make of it. So, I mean, if I had 5 stairs in my home and stuff like that, then that would make my daily life more difficult. I went for a long time where in my house, in the garage, I had a step going up into the laundry room from the garage. And then I had a sunken living room in another house. And, you know, it was one of those things where I chose that it wasn't that big of a deal for me to pop a wheelie and either hop up that step or grab the door frame on each side. And like I'm grabbing the picture frame and, you know, kind of pull myself up. You like how I planned that?
Nice. Visual demonstration.
I chose to do that. And to me, that wasn't a difficult thing. It was something that it was what I had to work with and everything like that. Now, when I just got this house and everything like that, I've got a sunken room in the back and that step in the garage. And I put a couple little ramps in there. And you know what? Does it make life easier? Probably. I guess I notice it when I'm carrying something and I'm going out into the garage and I just have to roll down a ramp instead of popping a wheelie and hopping down the little curb. I do notice it then. But in reality, it's all on what you make it. So you define your own parameters on what's easy and what's difficult in your daily routine.
All right, thank you. What's next, Christine? Goodbye.
Did we answer his questions? I
don't know if anybody else wheelchair user wants to. I know that Dominic, you have offset hinges, or have you made any other adaptations to your house?
Yeah, the only other adaptation I made in this house, and I'm in a rental house. Luckily my landlord is really cool with, you know, making any accessible changes I needed to. For the most part, the house was accessible. There was only the entrance into the house enters into an old sunroom that has been incorporated into the house. And there was about a 3-inch step into the main living of the house. And it was something that originally I thought, well, this is fine. I can hop up and down this step, no problem. But I ended up actually making a small ramp to help that gap. Just because, like Corbin said, when, you know, I've got groceries on my lap or something like that, and I'm trying to roll in, it's so much easier to just go up the ramp rather than hopping up or down a step. So I made those changes just to make it a little bit easier. And then, like Christine said, I put in these open hinges that make the doorway a little bit wider for me to get into, so that I might not be rubbing on the door or the door jamb. But again, it was pretty accessible for me, you know, for the most part in the very beginning. And I've lived independently ever since I graduated from high school, really. I left school, you know, left high school after graduation, went to college, and I've lived in apartments and houses ever since on my own. And just, you know, made things accessible how I needed to. If I needed to have like reachers or whatnot to grab things off from, say, a top shelf or a cabinet, or, you know, just make those small modifications if I needed to. But like Corbin said, for me, it was, again, on an individual basis. People's ability levels and what they do during the day is totally different. I'm like Corbin, I do work in a shop and have, you know, stuff around here that I've modified, workbenches and drill presses and things like that, just to make it that much easier.
It's all that what you want to do. I think we're pretty fortunate here in Arizona to have a lot more accessibility. I'm from Chicago, and I've had a friend that lived on the second story, and he was T12. So he had a
Jeez.
chair on the first floor, a chair on the second floor, and he would hop up the stairs because that's the area and what he can afford to where he wanted to live. So it's personal choice and what you want to be able to do.
I guess that question actually made me think of a few things that I've done around here, where when I moved into this house, the front door was almost inaccessible to me. I mean, I could pop a wheelie and pull myself up with the door frame, but it was probably about a 6-inch step into the front door of my house. And I got in touch with an organization here in town called Enduring Gratitude or something like that. Operation Enduring Gratitude. And they came over and they do stuff for veterans and everything. And they came over and they jackhammered my entire front sidewalk in front of my house and built this, it's sort of a front porch ramp thing, but they did it so far past ADA regulations that I can push at the bottom of this ramp. I can give one push and it's 23 feet long. I can give one push and coast all the way up to the door. And then the door is right at the threshold of, you know, it's literally, I just have to go over the little rubber threshold that's in the door frame. And then another thing that I did, and it's, you know, these are a couple things that I just completely forgot until you bring up this question, that, you know, I did these things just to, before then, I just bypassed the front door. I just never used the front door. But now that you bring this question up, I think about it, and I use the front door quite regularly now because I can just open up the door and go right out, and I don't have to do anything. I can go right to my cars from the front door, do whatever. And then around the side of my house, there's a nice little sidewalk down the side of my garage, but it ends right at the edge of the garage. And so it ends at the edge of the garage, and then my driveway's like this. So this little square right here is deep gravel. So for me to get over to this sidewalk over here from my driveway, I had to, you know, hop down into deep gravel and fight my way through deep gravel to get up onto that little sidewalk. And that goes to a walk-through gate that's in my fence, you know, back on the side of my house. Well, I never really thought about it, and I just never used that, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But one weekend I decided, hey, I've got a handful of these, you know, 16 by 16 pavers. And so my buddy and I cleared out some of the gravel and leveled out like 8 or 9 of these pavers and made a smooth path from the driveway to that sidewalk. I use that side gate all the time now. If I need to go, you know, out that way or something like that, I can open up that gate, and I know that I can just go out that gate and go right to my driveway with no issues at all. So I guess, you know, thank you for bringing up that question, because it actually brings up a few things that, you know, a lot of us that have been using a chair for a long time, you know, we do things and on a daily basis that we just kind of take for granted because we just, it's one of those things. It's just one of our daily lives, so we don't even think about it. But because you brought that question up, and while Dominic was talking, I started thinking, hey, you know what? I've actually done a few things here to not necessarily make life easier, but it inadvertently did make life easier. I did them to make me be able to use all the parts of the house that I'm in. And I'm doing that now with this shop. There's gonna be concrete all the way out this door here. It's gonna be concrete all the way out to the RV gate and everything like that. So it's a hanger, yeah. You know, it's those things that you know, be creative, think outside the box. I know Christine is awesome at this because she realizes that none of us are the same. Karen and I are both T12 paraplegics, but you can't come at us with the same solutions for different things. Eric and Dominic and Karen and me and, everybody, we all have different and unique things. And Gary, Gary's just unique.
He's out. He left.
He left.
YouTube kind of unique.
It's past his bedtime.
Yeah. So, it's just one of those things where you have to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to contact any one of us or anything like that. We all think outside the box because, it's just what we do. And you just gotta do what you gotta do, what you have to do to live life. And if that means if putting a ramp into a sunken living room makes it just a little bit easier for you to get up there, just do that. Yeah, there's Karen put her email address up there. I don't know how to do that.
I just put mine there too. So since our organization is integral part of this community, we also have contacts to a lot of resources and a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to reach out to us.
I don't know how to do that, so you just contact one of them if you want to talk to me, and they'll get you.
Do you want me to put yours in there, Corbin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna be in mail jail already.
It's one of those things where just go ahead and contact anybody with any questions. I mean, and don't hesitate to do that. If you have a question, ask a question, and those are great questions, by the way.
Yeah.
Phenomenal questions.
And sticking with the Arizona Spinal Cord Injury Association and Ability 360, Arizona has so many resources. So even as students, you can really kind of make sure to just keep these in the back of your head, just like, I have a patient that this could benefit from, and just being able to know where to direct people is just, people are so grateful just to be able to do that.
Yep. We do peer mentors also.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff to offer through the organization, and a lot of networking abilities, because I know all these people here, so whether they want to admit it or not. So.
Some you may not want to know.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
You guys had good questions.
Got it. Well, all right.
Yes,
I think we're going to call it 3 minutes early.
Heck yes. I'm ready to go home.
Thanks, guys.